This is IGN.
Cruel Britannia. This is your IGN review of Atomfall by Tristan Ogilvy. When I emerged from a quarantine zone bunker into the lush green surrounds of England's Lake District during Atomfall's opening moments, my mind didn't immediately go to Bethesda's Fallout series like I had expected. Instead, I thought of Elden Ring. That's because, while not nearly as enormous in scale, this survival action-adventure takes a similar approach to From Software's 2022 masterpiece in the way it drops you into a foreign land with no clear idea of who you are and only cryptic clues as to which direction to go in, trusting you to find your own fun and unearth its many mysteries organically as you carve a path through its varied and often intimidating terrain. It's a free-form storytelling structure that's succeeded in keeping me completely engrossed and consistently surprised for the 15 hours it took to roll the credits, despite some occasional struggles along the way due to inconsistent combat encounters with enemies as brutish as they were British. Inspired by the real-world wind-scale nuclear disaster that occurred in northern England in 1957, Atomfall's story takes place 5 years later within a fictionalized and meticulously crafted quarantine zone that has been walled off around the ruined reactor site and its neighboring village, woodland, and farmland areas. Cut off from the outside world, rifts have formed amidst the surviving populace, pitting an occupying military presence against a number of rival factions, and thus conflicting moral quandaries are posed as you choose which quirky quest givers to align with and which to betray in a flexible system that felt more inspired by Fallout New Vegas's ambiguity than Fallout 4's more rigid ethical options. Atomfall's skill tree is quite streamlined, but to be fair, it probably didn't really need to be overly elaborate given the story's short and sweet 15-hour length. There are 4 main categories: ranged combat, melee combat, survival, and conditioning, each with 9 unique perks to choose from, and I pretty much invested most of the stimulants I gathered into unlocking slow-motion aiming for my bow and making my sneak attacks even more silent. However, if you're more melee-focused than I am, you might opt for the buff that increases damage output with each melee-inflicted kill, or enhancing the power of the kick attack to stagger enemies for longer, for example. There are no major surprises here, but there's enough to suit a number of different playstyles, and after playing through Atomfall concurrently with Assassin's Creed Shadows, which by comparison features a skill tree with more branches than an untouched bonsai, I came to appreciate the unfussy nature of Atomfall's setup. Crafting is equally straightforward, with every piece of discard scrap metal, glass, and liquid you scavenge throughout the environment thrown into the same pool of resources to create everything from bandages to nail bombs, and eventually pristine and more powerful versions of the junkyard pistols and rifles, which were invaluable to use against the more formidable foes encountered during the pointy end of the story. Thankfully, these can all be done on the fly rather than having to stop what you're doing in order to seek out a workbench. Atomfall is a gripping survival action adventure that takes some of the best elements of Fallout and Elden Ring and synthesizes them into its own fresh mutation. It presents a picturesque chunk of English countryside littered with alluring structures to pique and reward your curiosity, eccentric locals to meet, and absorbing mysteries to unravel, and uses classic iconography from British sci-fi and horror to consistently unsettling effect. In spite of some enemies' behaviors that are occasionally less stable than a reactor in meltdown, Atomfall is a compelling post-apocalyptic survival story that satisfyingly bends to your choices and discoveries no matter which direction you take. Atomfall's IGN score, 8 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Zeke Robison, and for the latest Atomfall updates, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.